Why am I disappointed now knowing that you haven't spit on coffee?
It's more just like I need more coffee because like I had to inhale an entire cup while listening to the blob discussion.
I mean, inhaling coffee while that discussion is going on is probably a very productive use of your time. So, all good.
More productive than my time spent complaining about blobs, that's for sure.
Well, you know what won't cause you to complain about blobs is the Halcyon Frequency podcast, and this is episode 34, airing Sunday, September 11th, 2022. I'm blind, and I'm hosting, and I'm on my second cup of coffee because it is 6:20 in the morning here in Canada. And you've probably heard his voice already, and we're joined by Arch Plays Stuff. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing quite well. It's been one of those days that wasn't productive until like 11:30 p.m. And then I got all the things done because suddenly my focus was found.
I mean, sometimes you just have to spend the whole day being awake to find that focus so that you can actually be productive.
I call those days ending in a Y.
I mean, also, it depends on when you woke up. If you woke up at like 9 p.m., then like also being productive by 11 is actually like really reasonable.
Well, I woke up several times today because I had a nap.
Okay, fair enough. I'm probably going to do that right after this podcast. FG Squared is also here. How are you?
I'm also here. Yeah, I'm okay. I've been mostly having a lazy Saturday actually. Not really doing much other work than recording the podcast today because it's my day off. So I'm taking a day off. Just basically
popping into a call, recording some stuff, uploading it to a Google Drive, and going back to playing games or whatever.
Pretty much exactly that. Yes, and probably also going to watch some stuff tonight, just like vegging on the sofa while watching stuff.
Oh, what are you watching at the moment?
Ongoing right now, we have the new Lord of the Rings episode to watch.
Nice.
From yesterday, and then I just got like, I'm not gonna say who they are, but my phone provider here in the UK, they sometimes come and be like, "Hey, would you like 3 months of Disney Plus on us?" And I'm like, "Yes." And now I will go and binge watch Orville season 3 as well because I don't have to pay for it, which is great.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's the plan.
And lastly, on the introductions here, I also would like to introduce Meow Stations, who's joining us for this episode of the podcast. So, hello, how are you?
Hi, hello. I'm doing all right. I had a little nap earlier, so taking me a moment to wake up, and I had another coffee. So, yeah, I'm doing all right.
A lot of coffee here on this podcast.
Yes.
I actually, just for a moment, I got a special taster of 4 different kinds of coffee the other day. And they're all these different blends. And they came with tasting cards. Let me see if I can find them. I'll be back in a moment.
Ooh, I'm interested.
Fancy. Yeah, that's fancy coffee.
It's very fancy.
Not related to coffee exactly, but I have no hot water. And I'm probably going to have no hot water for the next 2.5 weeks.
That's insane. How do they take so long? I saw that on the Discord yesterday. I was going to comment on it. Obviously didn't because distracted. But, like, how is that legal to not have you give you hot water for 2 weeks?
So my building, this sort of happened once before, about 5 years ago. My building is about 12 years old, and one boiler went about 5 years ago, and we all got a notice saying, hey, one of the boilers burnt out. We're going to get it replaced. And because we have 2, right? The main one and the backup one, so they shared the load. And then within 5 days, the second one went. They replaced them both, and about a week ago, we had no hot water for about 24 hours, and I was sitting here going, oh, no. And then yesterday, we got a notice saying, yeah, they've both gone, so we're waiting for them to replace them, so now it's just, we have to go through the bureaucracy chain of getting both of our boilers replaced. So
that's
I'm
ridiculous.
Back on the hipster cold shower train for the next couple of weeks.
That means they're going to be on the 3rd boiler in 12 years. What kind of crappy boilers are they?
4th boiler, actually, because 2 of them went and then 2 of them went.
No, I'm counting it like I'm counting. Sorry, I was counting differently. I was counting like the boilers that this building started with. They already got replaced once, so they're on the 2nd. And now they're getting replaced again on the 3rd for both of them. But yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
Wow.
You tell me. I don't know. I'm assuming just really cheap. I'm convinced
Yeah.
that buildings like the one that I live in are a scam. Like they're actually just renter buildings that are disguised as strata buildings, and then all the people renting like don't pay attention to what's going on, and the people managing the units just want the strata fees to be as cheap as possible for their clients who are owning the units.
That's
But
crazy.
it's
So you're having your coffee cold?
no, I have a kettle.
Oh, okay.
My building has no hot water.
Okay. It's not no hot water allowed in the building. Got it.
No,
Is it
there's
or-
no mandates against hot water.
Yeah, as soon as you walk
it
into the
already-
building, your water just turns cold spontaneously.
Cold.
That's it.
It's like some Batman villains living in the basement, sapping all of our heat.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze.
Is it already?
That's his name. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So-
it already cold enough to need heating, or do you not
No,
have hot
I mean,
water?
we're I don't know what the weather's like over in the UK right now, but it's like currently it's 25 degrees during the day. I mean, like
Yeah,
if
same
you
here.
shower like midday, you can get it kind of lukewarm,
Okay, gotcha.
but it's not that bad.
Yeah. Okay.
If it was in like
So-
2 months, we'd have a problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
it's going to
Archie,
be
did you
warm
find
here
those
soon.
tasting cards?
I did, and I've been reading them. So it's from a company called Good Fortune, which is like a real local roastery to me.
This isn't sponsored or anything, I swear.
No, not sponsored. I just want to shout them out because like I love their sense of style. It's literally like old school comics. Like you've got, firecracker, organic, fair trade, living wage, caution, explosive, and it's got like the sparks and everything, and then all of these ones. But the tasting notes on the back of them are like, stare into a cup of hypnotic eyes and you get nothing. It is made for drinking and it is drunk by the elite, those rare and special souls who appreciate a blend with spice. Hypnotic Eyes is a bastard blend of Mexican and Peruvian beans, paradoxically mild and smooth with a light cinnamon, leafy aroma, and creamy body. Suits all brewing methods. And then, they're like, this one, this is the Dr. Warren Sixth Sense blend. Basically, it's Peruvian, Colombian, Ethiopian, medium body blend with spicy, clean, bright, and fruity flavors. And the other one I got was Firecracker, Peru, Guatemala, Ethiopia, Colombia blend. Like these beans have been more places than I have. The beans from Peru, Colombia, Ethiopia, and Guatemala combine for a taste once described as an exploding peanut slab. Whether it does, and regardless of if anyone has eaten an exploding chocolate bar, it got 5 stars and you'll give it 2. That depends on you liking your coffee sweet chocolate and toffee-esque with a full creamy body and lingering raw cocoa aftertaste. I swear I can talk.
Just because we're talking about flavor notes on a thing, I had a beer recently, which is by a Vancouver brewery called Strathcona Brewing, and it's a imperial sour, and it's literally called it's our 5 Alive sour is the name of it. And the tasting notes are, it tastes like 5 Alive. What do you want from us? It tastes like
always-
5 Alive. It's kind of fantastic.
I used to think tasting notes on anything were really weird. Like they'd be like, "Oh, it's chocolatey with all of the toffee-esque flavor," and you drink it and you'd be like, "There is nothing toffee or chocolate about this." And I watched. If anyone is into coffee and into YouTube, you probably know James Hoffman. He is like world record holding or award winning barista, and he did this video on what coffee tasting notes actually mean. And oh my god, it actually opened up my eyes so much. It's like, if they say it's citrusy, it's not that it tastes like citrus, it's that it tingles the same way one will and all of this. And so yeah, I've actually come to learn and appreciate all of the different flavor notes from actually learning that, instead of being like, oh, this stuff doesn't taste like chocolate, I better put some drinking chocolate in
So
there.
to be fair, that's also pretty nice to do.
I do remember deciding that mead wasn't honey tasting enough, so I ended up putting honey into it, while at somebody else's house in a party.
How did that taste?
But meat is already so sweet.
You criminal.
Ooh.
I was very, very, very drunk already. So
Gotcha.
it was not the silliest thing I did that night. We'll put it at that.
Yeah, true.
On
If
the
you're at
off-
a party and you're putting honey into mead, I don't think that the honey in the mead is the problem at that point.
On the off chance that you're listening, Damo, I'm really sorry about the house lights.
Okay, mental note made. Never invite Arch to a party at your house.
With me.
No, I promise never to get drunk and steal your house lights. Done it once, regret it.
Did you return them afterwards?
Well, I got caught stealing them, so yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. We let a criminal onto our team, blind.
You have no idea how many crimes I've committed, so. If there's a criminal here, I know who it is.
Yeah. Blind
I
sitting there
see.
going, amateur getting caught, jeez.
And you didn't walk out with the Xbox? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Surely the lights were just a diversion, right?
Well, you take out the lights so that they can't see you when you commit the actual crimes.
Ah, right,
Smart!
of course.
So smart, yeah.
I mean, have you never played Hitman? Come on.
I haven't actually.
Yeah, same.
Then you steal all their clothes and you put on their clothes that they don't recognize you.
Yeah,
no,
that's definitely how that works.
That's way more Hitman knowledge than I ever knew. So
There's a really good video that I saw on Reddit a couple weeks ago, and it's just this guy like sprinting away from the police on a bunch of different security cameras, right? And it's two guys, and they're running and they're carrying something, like they just stole something. And one of them takes a left and books it across the road and just kind of like runs through traffic and just like disappears off into the distance. The other one takes a right and goes straight into this alleyway, and then immediately takes another right and runs into the back of a kitchen in the back of a restaurant and just starts doing dishes. And you just see the police officers just like walk down the alleyway. And then this guy just keeps doing dishes. Police officers walk back in the other direction, just keeps doing dishes. And then he just stops doing dishes and then walks out through the front of the restaurant. It's like the
Wow.
most real life Hitman thing I've ever seen. It's like, that's how you get away.
I can't believe that works.
I mean, I'm assuming he got caught because he was on all of the security cameras, right? But
yeah, no, they just watched him afterwards and went, "This guy's good. He deserves to go free." And I think we
I
should
mean, it
show
depends.
people.
I guess it depends on whether or not you can see the face clearly enough, I'd say.
Yeah, the cop just walked by and sort of, okay, that kitchen's getting some free dish hand work, and once he comes out the other end, I'll just arrest him.
I think he's already doing his volunteer service. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's it. Skip sentencing and everything, straight to the hard labor.
Yeah, you just get a job. That's your prize. You commit a crime. We've got like 12 podcast titles and we haven't even started yet, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is, I'm sorry.
Sorry for what?
I mean, I literally
For everything.
tweeted earlier today. It's like, sometimes I'm super envious of people who can think before they speak. Because I was having this conversation with someone, and I'm like, I was talking about someone else, and I was always like, they always seem to like carefully consider their words, and like, they won't speak on something unless there's a moral high ground or something to take, and all this. And my friend was like, yeah, that's normally what people do. They don't normally just run their mouth like you do. Oh,
That's what mental illness is.
yeah, it's just been like, oh man, like just another thing, like.
And that's why we're podcasters.
That's why we literally made that our job, talking for hours on end.
Yeah,
Gotta turn
yeah.
your weaknesses into strengths. Easy. Easy.
All right, so I think we're going to go take a real quick break. And when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about the games that we've been playing this week. Back after this.
Hi, Belaner here. Thanks for listening to our podcast again. I'm not on the episode this week, but I'll be again later some of the other weeks. But if you want to see and hear more of me, you can find me on twitch.tv/Belanar, where I do all my gaming content, also on youtube.com/BelanarTV for all the reviews and everything. And also I've been doing a lot of miniature stuff lately, all kinds of Warhammer and painting and modeling and so on, and you can find those on Rikus Minis on YouTube, and same also on the Instagram if you're interested. But anyways, back to the episode and enjoy listening for the rest of it.
And we're back with episode 34 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. We're here to talk about games a little bit, the games that we've been playing over the last couple of weeks. And Arch, I know that you can talk about Stardew forever, and I know that Meow Stations is in a similar boat, so Arch, talk to me about Stardew Valley.
What I want to know is, Meow,
Yes.
what's your favorite farm type?
So I play with mods, first of all.
Yep. Yep.
And of course I play with Stardew Valley Expanded. So I always
Naturally.
start with, well, up until now, every playthrough has been with Grandpa's farm. But now I started with the super massive one.
The immersive farm. That is really good.
Yeah.
And that now that low ball's been tossed to you, here's the real question. Who do you marry?
Ooh, okay.
This can really split people, like, you know.
just
Marriage can split people? I think that's the opposite intention.
please don't tell me that it's a Haley for you, but for me,
Oh,
I have start sweating. I have the whole, I can fix him problem, so obviously it's gonna have to be Shane. The thing is, like, every
Yes! Thank you.
yeah, every playthrough I've had, I've been so indecisive that I've never really married anyone, and I have like,
God, it's just like real life.
yeah. I have like 1,300 hours in Stardew, and so many different playthroughs. Still haven't married anyone, but yeah, I usually romance Shane. However, I downloaded I think last year at some point the mod Always Raining in the Valley, which has Sterling, which is like Shane but like even spicier. And yeah, he's gonna be my go-to.
I have not heard of this mod, and I need to look it up.
It's amazing.
But I also want to comment on Shane and wanting to fix him, because they did him dirty. Because I absolutely understand people wanting to fix him, but when you get married and he gets his little room in your house, it's just trashed with alcohol again. And it's like, I thought I fixed him, and you think you fixed someone, but then they go and revert back to their old ways. I mean, I thought we play games to escape reality.
As a broken human being, you can't fix broken.
Yeah,
At least
Just
not
have
from
to
the
deal with it.
outside.
too real.
Not from the outside. Also, Stardew Valley has a lot of characters that are actually, like, if you look at it, like, if you look from the outside, Stardew looks like this really happy, wholesome, cute pixel art thing, but there is some heavy stuff going on, like, even just in, base game without any mods or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Shane,
I was...
Pam.
It's like that indie game trope of, oh, look, it's happy-go-lucky pixel art, just like laced with depression.
Well, I think it's more laced with a lot of realism and a lot of flaws in it too. Like, I was having this issue. Well, not having this issue, having this thought train. Thoughts are an issue for me in general. So,
I was literally gonna say that.
You barely know me, and you're already. Wow.
I meant more for myself, but yeah.
I was gonna say, FG and Blind are really, really, really just influencing you right now. You've been in this call for how long, and you already know me too well. There's like no real good characters in Stardew Valley. Like, Kent, he's got PTSD and a lot of that. The good thing about that is, he talks about that at least.
Mm-hmm.
But Demetrius tries to ward you off dating Mara because, she's too good for you. You better not hold her back. Clint has major nice guy vibes.
Mm-hmm.
George is just crabby. Who are the other male role models, I think? Pierre is just Pierre, and I'm sorry.
He's a bit of a
If you like
jerk.
Pierre, you're wrong. A bit. He is.
I wanted to ease into it.
Joke.
wanted to
I'll
gauge
just-
the vibe first, but yeah.
I'll just test the waters by saying he's a bit of a jerk and see what comes of it. No, so there is that, and then I was going through, and pretty much no one, well, at least from the males, are good role models. The only one that's close is Gus, who is kind and friendly in that, but he's also majorly enabling Pam, by letting her go into massive debt and, you know, not following up on that and stuff. So yeah, it is this mix of everything's nice and peaceful, but it also is this, not this like idyllic paradise.
I mean,
What
the
I was
wizard?
going to say, no, even he's just weird.
Yeah.
No, the wizard always comes across as he feels it, as if he feels like he's like superior over everybody. I don't know. I don't like his attitude that much.
I don't know. He can cast magic. Like,
Yeah,
So
but
you're implying he's
still.
superior.
he is superior. The problem is that he knows it, you know?
The problem with
Like,
me is
he
that
could
I
turn...
yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I forget which part of the characters is vanilla Stardew and which part has been added by mods. So like if we're talking about the wizard, like I know a different side of him as well because of other mods. And so now I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, when he turns into the Blob Prince, he's a much nicer guy. Back to who we marry. I am a sucker for colored hair, so it's always Abigail or Emily. Though I played last time I played, I got the Ridgeside Village mod, which is basically like it's so many new, like 20 new NPCs with events and all of this. Like it's almost like a dating sim level of additional visual novel, more so. But I married Floor from that, and the funniest thing about Floor is basically she is that I can fix him for everyone. Like she's a behavioral therapist, and so, you know, everyone she talks to and talks about is like how she can fix them. She fell in love with me really easy, and I don't know if that was like part of the game or just me being me. But yeah, that's one thing I really love about Stardew, just how much mods can really change it, really throw it around. You know, I've been watching a fair few streamers do various runs and such. One person who I always watch and, you know, also has appeared on my stream as well, was Mal Blue Eyes, and she does challenge runs. And like absolutely ridiculous. You may remember that I did a challenge run with her when I was raising money for charity the other month, where we were running or preparing to open a bed and breakfast. So you had to like have 100 large milk, 100 large eggs. You had to have, you know, all this flour, butter, sugar, you know, all of this. And she's done other challenge runs, like, you know, she can only make money from fishing, or she can only make money from mining and all of this. And just that level of challenge runs and the way mods themselves can just throw things around and really, really change it. It's one of those games that it's great in and of itself, but mods just take it to a whole new level.
Yeah, agreed.
And yeah, and the way that the modding community has sort of embraced the game has been really great too.
I have to interject, and I have to ask a question to both of you because I don't think we've talked about that. Tell me about your feeling about Stardew Valley fishing. Go.
Oh my god. Do you want to
Do you
start?
like fishing in it or not?
I don't hate it. Right? I think that at the easy level, it's quite good. It gets too difficult. Right? I've actually, you know, mucked around with a mod that's fishing made easier. It doesn't skip the game. It just reduces the difficulty, reduces the jumpiness, and it feels good at about 50%. It conversely reduces the experience gain, so it's almost, you know, like that. But yeah, I know there's people that do and don't like it. Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, the thing is, like, the mini game itself, I enjoy. Like, I think it's a fun way of like catching fish. The problem with me is leveling up the fishing. That takes too long, in my opinion. But I have like various mods that kind of mess around with that. I have Walk of Life that messes around with like professions and stuff, so you can make it so that certain skills level up faster than others, so I can like mess around with that. But yeah, the fishing is okay, actually. I haven't downloaded Fishing Made Easier, so I don't know if that would help as well.
What's this Walk of Life? Tell me more.
So basically it reimagines all the different professions. And I keep forgetting how many are in vanilla game. Is it 4, 5? Like there's mining, fishing, farming, combat, and foraging. Yeah. And it kind of reimagines those professions, and also at like level 5 of each and level 10, you get to pick like one of the two things, right? You get to choose one or the other. And with this one, those are like completely different. Well, not completely different, but like vastly improved. And you also have the ability to prestige. So you kind of, you know what prestiging is. Like you go to like a little statue and then you say, oh yeah, put me back down to level 0. And then that way you can also get the other professions, like the other choices. And that I love. Like as soon as something is made so that I don't miss out, I have a bit of a completionist issue. Then I can choose all of them.
Cool. That actually sounds really, really cool. I like that a lot. Yeah.
I'm wondering how I didn't know about all of these mods again. Like mods, and I'm really worried that it's gonna like spur another playthrough on top of the one I'm already planning.
Oh, you have to.
I know how you didn't know about all these mods is because of the conversation we were having earlier of just like, oh, prep? Now stream. And then you're already streaming, and then someone mentions a mod, and then you're like, but streaming.
There
mod
are
later, and then forget.
There are a few circumstances where I do actually prep mods for games, and Stardew Valley is one of them. But there is another important question, Meow, that I need to ask you. Jojo or Pierre's? Like community center or Jojo?
Yeah, I know what you mean. The thing is, I go for the community center just because it feels like there's more to do, and there's more like there's more content when you go for that. For Jojo, it just feels like, oh, you just throw money at the problem and like buy the bundles and then you're kind of done, I guess. But there are some mods. I hate to go back to this every time. There are some mods that make the Jojo playthrough a bit more exciting, I guess. But I haven't tried them yet.
I also have a question, because you said you're a completionist. Have you 100%ed the achievements?
Have I what?
100%ed the achievements, the Steam achievements.
No.
For Stardew Valley.
Because my problem is I keep finding new mods and I'm like, I need to start a new playthrough with this, because then you get the like your item IDs get shuffled if you use anything with like JSON assets. So I just start a new playthrough, or like there's if you install something like Ridgeside, then you're like, oh, okay, I want all my characters to start at the same level of hearts, so you restart a new playthrough. So I haven't yet. Yeah.
So I've actually been debating, or not debating, but planning a perfection farm to do on stream. And it's something that I keep sitting at, and this is where it's like, do I do it with mods? Do I do it vanilla? Because the problem is by adding mods, it adds more items, and thus the ship every item, ship 15 of each crop, catch every fish, craft every item, is all connected to the same thing. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, perfection, finishing a farm perfection style would give you all of those things, correct?
All the achievements, you mean?
Yeah.
No, because there is one. Because you have to do at least two partial playthroughs. Because one, there are achievements for the community center, and then there is an achievement to do Jojo Mart.
Well,
You
see,
can't
that's
do
it.
that
I've
the
already
same thing.
completed the community center, so for me, my perfection run would be via Jojo Mart, and I don't know how I feel about that either.
I know, right? Like,
Simulating
it forces you to
capitalism.
do it for the achievement, but then it's like, I don't want to be evil. Ooh.
I mean, the thing is, like, I can't remember if this is still in the vanilla game, but basically the way you could get both achievements is you had your save file, and then the last bundle that you completed, depending on whether it was Joja or Pierre or like the community center, was basically the achievement that you got. So you could, in theory, complete like the Joja one and then go back to your save file, go like a day before, and then continue with your regular community center run.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the second you get Jojo, you could literally purchase everything, whereas the community center would take a lot longer. You're right there. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think you can still do that. I'm not 100% sure.
It's really funny because like this whole thing with mods and not mods, I've talked at length with a friend of mine about Stardew Valley, and she's playing on Switch, and it's so confusing because I'll mention some stuff and she's like, "Oh, I haven't encountered that." I'm like, "Did I spoil something, or is that coming from a mod that I have?"
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've bought Stardew Valley on Xbox, Switch, PC. I bought the special edition from Fangamer, I think it was. That came with like all the physical stuff as well. Basically, if there is an opportunity to buy another copy of Stardew, I will. But I've only ever played it on PC because
Quick! Concerned Abe, release it on Fridge. Go the Skyrim route.
I'm starting to think that like Stardew might be the next Skyrim.
Yeah, because it is
No.
on mobile too.
Or
Like
another
for example,
Skyrim.
already. Yeah.
Nah, it's like Terraria though.
They need
That's
to port it
honestly
to
what
Alexa.
it is. No, it's not like Skyrim because Skyrim is the same game with a few polishes being re-released, right? All he's doing is basically making it available on more more
Yeah, but
devices.
there's polishes for those devices. Don't undersell it.
Actually, no. There's a big issue with the mobile one that the 1.5 update is still not out because it's another company
Really?
handling the port of it all, and it's such a big problem that he has openly stated the Haunted Chocolatier will not be coming to Android or iOS.
I can tell you for a fact that Bethesda never updated the Alexa port of Skyrim, so I don't see the difference between this.
Alexa, ship all my crops.
Alexa, I eat all of the cheese. That thing does work, by the way. Like it's kind of a weird thing.
I just like the idea of this is the section of the podcast where we all sit around and try to trigger our
Everybody's
listeners'
Alexa
Alexas.
devices?
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Alexa, follow Halcyon Frequency Podcast.
Nice one.
Did it work? I don't know.
I don't know.
Hopefully.
You're gonna
us
do
know in the
okay,
comments below.
Google.
That's how you increase your search terms. You know, just be on a podcast and then trigger everybody's Google devices.
I have gotten some on stream. I have gotten some people and made their Alexa go off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Alexa,
Yeah.
play podcast. Speaking of podcasts, FG, do you want to talk to us about American Truck Simulator? And I'm losing my voice, oh god.
Don't lose your voice. No, quick, more coffee.
I have to find
Do it. To be fair, American Truck Sim is a really good game to play while listening to podcasts because it's like chill and whatnot. Yeah, this week's been really quiet in terms of like new releases. There was only like a couple of new releases, and there weren't really like anything that I wanted to play on my channel. So I was like, what could I go back to? And then I saw one of my mods just was playing like crap tons of American Truck Sim, and I was like, yeah, I haven't trucked in a while. Let's go trucking. So went back to that. It's still really fun. They just had another map out. They just had Montana come out. Next up is Texas eventually sometime. I don't know if it's still this year or early next year because Texas is so huge. But they're cracking on as, you know, SC Software. They're just going for it. Releasing map after map. Still supporting the old stuff. They're going back and like redoing some of the older maps. Especially in Euro Truck Sim, because that game's 10 years old now. Euro Truck Sim 2. But they've also already reworked, like, for example, California, which was, like, the launch area of American Truck Sim. So it's still really fun. It's just a really good stream game, because you're doing stuff, but you don't need to pay that much attention when you're doing
Just like
stuff.
driving in real life. You just sometimes make a Prius disappear.
No, I would not drive like I do in American Truck Sim IRL. But no, it's just always, yes, I'm very sure. 100%.
Oh, wow. It's surprisingly cheap. It's on sale at the moment too. I was
It
just
is on
checking it
sale,
out.
yeah.
Oh.
Yes,
it's-
$7.50 New Zealand. So it's probably like five.
They do the really deep
$5.
sales because they want you to buy the DLCs.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's
but-
it.
It's
I
like
get
The
you.
Sims.
Yeah. Actually,
No, it's not.
the truck sim is very much like The Sims in that. In
It's
that
not
kind
too
of sense.
bad though, because the DLCs are usually like they are really cheap as well when they go on sale.
Yeah, generally you can
Yeah.
get the whole thing for like less than $50.
Yes. No, like they have a lot of like paint jobs and like truck type DLCs, like special things. They've got a couple of special cargo DLCs like heavy cargo and forestry stuff. But generally speaking, like even if you just buy the base game, which is like usually 75% off when it goes on sale, you do get 3 maps with that, if I recall correctly, because you get California, Nevada, and Arizona. Because it came out with Cali and Arizona, if I recall correctly, and then they released Nevada later, but as like it's extra. It's an extra map, but it's free to pick up, and like. I mean, yes, it does add up, but it's kind of like it adds up price-wise like a Paradox game. You'll just sink so many... Like, if you enjoy it, you'll sink so many hours into this game. Like, I have already played... And the way I play Truck Sim is, like, I play it a lot in a short amount of time, and then I, like, stop for several months, and then I play it a lot again, and I've already, like, broken over 100 hours now, I think. So, it's, like, you know... It's definitely like the price is not like overly expensive or anything like that. Not at all, actually. I think, especially if you're patient and you pick up the maps when they're on sale, rather than buy them when they come out new.
Yeah, so I've just bought it.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, no.
You've just sold me on it. So yeah, that's working.
It does also now, since 2020, it does have native multiplayer as well, which is really cool. So you
Yeah,
can
I've
play
seen-
together with people.
I've seen some people doing convoys, and it
Yeah.
it strikes me as the funniest thing. It's like, hey, do you want to jump in a call and just pretend we're driving together for like hours?
Yeah, it's great. It's actually really fun.
But we have another driving game to talk about. I think it's a good enough segue, you know?
Good segue, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Meow.
Hello.
Hello. Now is your time to
Yeah.
shine.
What,
It's time
what
to
a
talk about
segue.
Stuntfest World Tour, I think.
Yes,
Yes.
Stuntfest World Tour. So I'm actually working at Power Entertainment, and we're developing Stuntfest World Tour, which is I wouldn't exactly call it a driving game or a racing game, but it's like you have cars in it, and you can do stunts. You have like there's different tracks that we're developing at the moment, different maps, and it's kind of like a battle royale in a way, because there's like 18 players in total, and you do these stunt shows, and every single map you get like points, and then they add up, and then as the days pass, so to speak, because it's about like 10 or 12 days per stunt show, you get eliminated, like the lower ones get eliminated, and then the top, I don't know, 10 or 6 people continue on to the next map. And it's really, really fun. And I'm not just saying this because like I'm working on it, but I'm usually not the type of person who likes racing games that much. Like the main ones I ever really liked were Gran Turismo and Mario Kart, of course. So yeah, this one is like really, really fun because you get to do all these like weird stunts that you would otherwise not really do. And of course there's also Crash Derby in it. Like one of the few maps is, yeah, you get to wreck stuff.
Yeah.
I saw this thing announced on a live stream relatively recently, and it was like, okay, so there's cars and they're driving and they're going over jumps. Okay, and then suddenly they turn into people. Okay, and then they're flying, and then they're going through like Superman hoops, and then they're landing, and then they're turning back into cars. And I have a question: is the human the car, or are the cars the humans? Like, where, at what point does biology become machinery in this universe?
I feel like I can't answer that question. You'll have to play the game. No, the actual thing is you just jump out of the car, and then yeah, you kind of summon your car around you. Yeah, exactly.
So basically, what you're saying is we're Knight Rider.
I was going Spy Kids, but like, you know, whatever works.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I just
I'm just
dated
waiting
myself
for the...
again, didn't I? Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the lore drop, you know, like, you know, you're people who have the ability to summon cars through the power of a special item. I saw it, and the first the thing I got was an absolute flashback to Destruction Derby. That old game, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't wait to play this, because I love games where you don't have to be nice to your car. Like I could never play any games like Gran Turismo or anything, because the idea of not crashing was just not in my realm space. So games where you get to really thrash cars and then, you know, do all the other cool stunt stuff it's going to be fun, I think.
I mean,
the important question for me is just like, what is the actual game loop like? Like, what are from watching the preview footage? It's a little bit difficult to kind of figure out. Am I racing? Is this a score attack game? Is there like a set route? What is the actual game loop for Stuntfest World Tour?
So at the moment, as in like if you were to start up the game and you'd want to like get right into it, right? Yeah. So at the moment we have these stunt shows, which I mentioned before, and it has I think about 10 maps at the moment. So you would have, for example, one which is racing, one which is like destroy all the other cars, ones which is you're only on the glider and you have to go through hoops and stuff and get the fastest time. What else is there? But like most of the races where you have to go from like point A to point B via all sorts of different shortcuts is always time based. Like you always have to have the shortest time. When it's more of a destruction derby type thing, type map, then you have to score points. So even if you destroy the other car, like there's other cars on the map that you can pick up. And you have, I think, like 20 seconds or 30 seconds where once your car gets destroyed, you can just pick up another car, and you still have like your little gadgets that make you can fly up like a little ledge where maybe there's a car there, and then use that one and start scoring more points by crashing against other people.
I'm just really glad that in your glider suit you can hit the ground and you get the real, like, you know, the old GTA wasted vibe.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
have no idea what you mean because I never crash. I crash all the time.
Well, yeah, can't relate. I
Crash into
One of
wall,
my-
crash into spiky boulder, crash into other player.
Yeah, that's it. I what was the last racing game I played? What was the one that was big recently? Horizon.
What's that Horizon? Yeah.
Yeah. The
My
ability
brain
to
went to
just
Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm like, that's not a racing game.
It did take me like a second where I was
Forza
like, oh,
Horizon.
yeah.
Yeah.
not
Forza.
not if you try hard enough. Forza. Yeah, I don't know why I said Horizon.
There isn't enough names for video games and too many video games is the problem.
Yeah. My brain. I just love that you could crash through everything in that, and
It's so good, isn't it?
I
love
love
it.
games that sort of approach any sort of like moving, like have the environment be destructible, be able to just be like, no, the quickest way from point A to point B is by running over point C.
Yes.
Yes, and you get points for it, and the more you do it, the more points you get. It's great.
I
Entertainment.
take your point C and raise you point Y.
Because
Because
I
it's
mean-
fun, and I don't get to do it IRL.
Yeah,
You missed the point.
Wait, you don't?
Point A, point C, but what about point Y? Just jump all three of them. I am a jet.
no, that's the thing. It's like I drive over bushes and get points in Forza. I do it in real life, and my driving instructor's like, I'm failing you. It just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, it's not.
But it looks
Get
like
fined. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
bonus points, sir.
No. That's deductions, penalties.
No. You, if you run over the construction site, that's how you get the turbo boost. But yeah, I looking at Stuntfest World Tour. It kind of, to me, just screams the best parts of like the dirt games, as well as combine that with just a multitude of things from other games that, you know, when I play a game with cars in it, I don't want to actually play a game with cars in it. I want to play a game with the concept of cars in it, which is why I enjoy things like Trackmania. And when I see big tracks floating in midair in ways that break physics, I'm gonna pay attention. So it's something that I'm
Yeah,
curious
same.
about trying.
I'm not a hardcore racing simulator driver, you know.
Nope.
I like the ones that, you know, I'm in a crashing game, so I'd like it to be funny, and if I get points for doing so as well, then, you know, I'm sold.
Same.
All right.
I'm gonna
what
take
else?
this.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna take this opportunity to move us over to Gloomwood, which is a game that I played over this past week.
Yeah,
So-
tell me about that. I'm curious.
Me too.
Have any of you played Thief?
I have not played it myself, but I've watched an entire playthrough of it.
Okay, well,
I've
if you're
been called one.
all right. Well, I mean, we know that you stole things from a party earlier, so
He didn't even manage
putting
to.
up a light.
Yeah. I wasn't called a good one.
So Gloomwood is the most recent release from New Blood Interactive, and it is a. This was a game that I saw on Twitter like 3 years ago, and just in like individual scenes posted by one half of the development team, Dylan Rogers, and it's trying to be Thief. That's what this game is. It is a first-person stealth action, I guess, first-person adventure game, I would say, because they're not quite first-person shooters. It's okay. So it starts you off kind of in this prison-esque environment, and a dude lets you go, and he says that you need to work your way to the lighthouse. and you're just always referred to as the Doctor. The kind of theming and world of this game feels very Bloodborne. It's very kind of cosmic horror, weird nightmare kind of aesthetic. You've got the main enemy type that you're going to be tolerating are these weird plague doctor guys that either have shotguns, hatchets, or torches, although when they have torches, they seem to prefer to set each other on fire more than other things. I think that the biggest problem with the game currently is it's very early access. It's very short. There isn't a lot in it, which is, for me, was a little bit disappointing because it is something that I've been kind of keeping an eye on and waiting for a very long time. But as a stealth action immersive sim, I think it kind of ticks all of the right boxes. You have a little pointy stick that you can stab people with and they die. You very quickly get a shotgun and a handgun. And you can get the handgun a little bit earlier if you are wary of your environment and find a safe. But there's plenty of different routes and things that you can do. There's a interesting stealth system, which is signified by a ring on your thumb. So back in Thief, there was like an icon in the bottom left of the screen, but in this, there's a ring on your thumb, which lights up based on how well lit the environment is. So if you can't see the ring at all, they can't see you. If you can see the ring, they'll be able to see you. And so you're very much going to be jumping from shadow to shadow and avoiding kind of the seeing gaze of the enemy, which can be quite hilarious when you pop into their line of sight and they go, I think I see something. And then you step back in the shadow and they're like, it must have been nothing. It's like, yes, this is a video game. I think that Thief actually does this better. And this is kind of where I get a little sad about this game. Thief was a very mechanical game in its execution of stealth. There was always kind of like, you could like very much game it out and just trick the AI into not being aware of you. But this game feels like I have less control over it. And I think part of the issue with it is its fidelity. And I know that this is going to sound weird because like people like graphics and this game isn't that graphically crazy, but it tries to be too pretty. And I think that I think that kind of messes with your ability to play a Thief game. Because when you have like this nice soft lighting and you don't have super strict jagged lines like in Thief, it suddenly goes from being okay, this is an interesting mechanically dense stealth action game to, am I in the dark? Is this area dark? And I'm not thrilled with that. So I kind of felt like it was accidentally becoming a stealth action game instead of just being a stealth action game.
It's funny you talk about a game like this because I was actually just having a discussion last night with a friend about the old Splinter Cell games and how they had the stealth and the light thing. And I was like, no game seems to be able to do that well nowadays. Like, it's really crazy that Splinter Cell came out on the original Xbox and, to my mind, did it incredibly well. And then to hear that another game's been trying to do it and hasn't succeeded is like, huh.
No, it's not that it hasn't succeeded. I think it is succeeding. I think, it's the New Blood Interactive style of, we'll make you a fifth of a game, right? And then you're going to beta test it for us, and then we're going to update that in 6 weeks or whatever with a chunk of new level, and we will have re-refined the early areas. And so for right now, looking at Gloomwood, it's a really cool little base for what probably will be an awesome homage to Thief, but right now it's very short, and the stuff that's there is not polished to a point where everything feels great. Like it's all if you boil it down to its fundamentals, it is a interesting kind of Lovecraftian homage to Thief. However, there's not enough there, and the what is there doesn't feel worth the asking price of the audience at this point. Although I will say, I agree with that one dude in this Steam review section that said this inventory screen fucks because it's possibly one of the coolest inventory screens I've seen in ever. It's like this weird like folding briefcase thing that has like 3 different shelves in it, and it rotates, and one side has like your journal and like your map and other things, and then the other side is like a grid suitcase that's like all physics based, so you can like click and drag stuff out of it and they just fall into the environment and make noise, and you have to be very careful to not bump stuff together to alert guys in the other room. That part's really cool. So there's a lot of really neat ideas in Gloomwood, but I think that unless you desperately need to play a game like this right now, I think that there's better offerings on the market. Just to toss out a name for another game that I need to actually get around to playing more of, Blood West is probably a better take on the kind of thief style of first-person shooter.
Right.
How short is
Basically,
it?
it's
Oh,
No, go ahead. Sorry.
how short is it currently? Because you said it's very short, but
I cleared it in 2 hours.
okay.
Yeah, that is
There
short.
are lots of and I'm pretty sure I sequence broke it at one point, actually, because there's an area that like kind of the starting area is kind of like this weird fishing wharf, and I was able to get into the water, and I swam all the way across the water, and I think I skipped a chunk of it because I found an invisible wall and then kind of like almost Skyrim'd my way up the back of like a cliff. And then there were these 3 dudes on top of it, all with torches, and then they set each other on fire instead of setting me on fire because I can't hit down with torches. They can only hit like sideways. So they hit each other's hitboxes with the torches, and they all burned up. And then I climbed up and then finished the level. I was like, I think I sequence broke this. So
That sounds amazing, actually.
It was kind of great, actually. I mean, for an immersive sim, it felt pretty good because I felt like I won, because that's what you want to do in an immersive sim, is like get this close to breaking it, but not quite. There's some fun mechanics, like there's like exploding barrels, and like you can stealth up behind a guy and pick up an exploding barrel and move it behind him, and then stealth backwards and shoot the barrel, which always feels really good. Things like that are in there, and it is a fun sandbox of toys to mess around with. But even without knowing the routes, I can clear that game in 2 hours. I'm pretty sure if I went back and did it again, I could probably clear it in 30 minutes. There really isn't a lot to it right now.
I mean, it's early
So it's,
access.
It is
Yeah,
early access,
yeah.
yes, but it's also a New Blood interactive early access game, which means they will sell you a fifth of a game, and then you wait 6 weeks. So I think it's very much an easy game to say, yeah, it's cool and will be cool, so don't buy it because it's
Wait and
so
see,
unfinished.
yeah.
Like unless you're starving for a thief style of game, I would say, just like Ultra Kill or anything else that or Dusk even, which is one of the developer of Dusk is actually working on this. Like just give it a year and play it then, because that's when it will be a full experience. Otherwise, you'll just start playing it and then you'll suddenly hit a door that just says under construction, and you'll be like, oh, great.
No.
I've run out of game. Yeah, it just kind of takes the wind out of your sails, I guess, because this is the kind of game that I would want to just sit down and chew through. And I was just hoping that the initial early access offering would have more.
I'm actually super curious, since we're talking about early access games. Because I said earlier, like, oh, it's disappointing when you kind of when it's like, oh, an area that's under construction. Do you actually enjoy early access games? Like, do you?
I think, both of the games I have on my list here, Songs of Six and Gloomwood, are both early access games, and I have thousands of hours in Dwarf Fortress, which is one of the original early access games that will never be finished. So, I mean, yeah, I play a lot of early access stuff.
I like the concept of early access, and there are some games out there that do early access fantastically well. Blind has mentioned some already.
Caves of Cud. Caves of Cud.
Yeah, like stuff like or stuff like RimWorld, Oxygen Not Included, and like games that they give you a big chunk to do at the start, and then they keep you informed, and they they don't have like 6 months of nothing, and then there's suddenly like like a Steam post like we're
added a
not
gun.
dead yet, and then
added one item.
or like like a I don't know, like a DayZ type of early access. There are a lot of bad eggs out there though that abuse the early access concept, and they basically just release an alpha at best.
Even like Project Zomboid, where, by the way, we lost our source code again.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
twice.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know, like as like the playing the type of games on stream that I play, I like can't avoid playing early access games. But there are definitely some out there that do it better than others.
It's super interesting to me because so obviously I don't stream, right? I'm not a streamer, just a regular peasant gamer. I always try to play games that are just that are already finished, so to speak. And then just a few months ago, actually, I have that problem where I say the other day, and it could have been 2 years ago. I don't know. I started. I bought a game that was in early access, and I was actually really, really surprised by how much there was and how quickly they also updated based on the community's feedback. That's always something that's like super cool to see for me, who generally just plays games that are already finished.
There are companies out there who do it so well. Like License to Be a Program, for example, which is like a factory game that came out with like a solid 80 hours worth of content in early access last year, and they have been adding so much stuff to the game on top of that. That game, like once that's finished and complete and you're going to do a full playthrough, it's going to take you like 200 hours. It's going to be amazing.
This is actually a really good opportunity for me to talk about Songs of Six, which is an early access game, which I've been playing as well. The other early access game I've been playing, because it's this. The initial demo that released for Songs of Six was okay. Well, first off, I should explain what the game is. It is a city building strategy game with some empire simulation, and it's kind of like this mashup of Dungeon Keeper, Pharaoh, a little bit of RimWorld, and Total War. And it's a city builder where you have multiple different species of characters. You have orcs, elves, lizard people, humans, dwarves, bug people, and these weird blue giants that live for 1,000 years, that hate everybody and just want to be God. And very quickly you start building, and it's very mechanically dense in that everything has a bajillion different requirements and small stats that are affected by everything from the roundness and shape of houses all the way up to what kind of carpet they have or the material the walls are made out of, or whether or not they're okay with living underground, or whether or not they get depressed if they don't have enough showers, or if they don't have fruit or don't have meat or don't have a specific type of jewelry that they want, or whether or not their clothes are made out of fibers or leather. And this is a game that gets an update maybe once every 3 months. And the update could be something like, oh, there's trebuchets and archery in the combat now. Or the update could be something like the housing update and sickness update, which just came out, where now diseases will spread out and you have to make physicians, hospitals, and there's one other type of doctor house, which I haven't seen yet. And then there's the housing update that came out alongside that, where now instead of just building bunk houses for everybody and they just go sleep in random beds at random, they're all individually assigned houses, and they claim houses that are close to where they work. So this is a game where I put 50 hours into the initial release version. I've put another 50 hours into the combat update, which added combat into the game about 8 months ago. And now I'm trying to work my way through all of this sickness. And also, in that time, the developer rebalanced the tech tree twice. So now there's actually a tech tree and stuff is unlocked. Also, the way the tech tree works in this game is you have to chop down trees and make paper and then build a library, and you have to have people that maintain the library, otherwise the paper degrades. So you're constantly in this loop of expanding your city because everything requires expansion, right down to your tech tree, because if you don't have enough people to manage your libraries, then your tech tree degrades. And this is a game that gets an update every 2 months. So whenever an update comes out, he retools the tech tree, rebalances half of the game, adds in a bunch of content, and so you're trying to relearn the game every 6 months while also getting new stuff to play with. And it's like this infinitely expanding toy box of things to play with. And so as an early access game, it's kind of amazing because every 3 to 6 months you have basically a new game to play.
That's actually quite interesting, because I was just about to say from my perspective on early access games is I absolutely hate when you play an early access game, because I tend to hyper focus, right? I will play all of the content and then they'll release 6 months later with an update where there's a little bit of an expansion, you know, an extra 10 hours of play or whatever. But you got to go through the initial time first. And, you know, I get so over having to do that, having to repeat the already existing content to get to the new content. The idea of the starting experience being completely different as well just instantly adds another thing that appeals to me about this game.
Well, it depends on the type of early access game that you're playing, right? Like Gloomwood is a game where I played through that initial level. I will probably replay the initial level at some point, right? And then the next update's going to come out, and I'm going to go to my same save file and play through the new content they've added, and then I will go to the same save file and play through the new content they've added, and I will slowly over the next year or whatever, or 2 years, play through that entire game, and then I'll be done. With a game like Songs of Six, because it's an ever-changing sandbox of toys, or a game like Caves of Cud or Cogmind, or even a game like Jupiter Hell or RimWorld, those games are they're mechanical games where you can do a playthrough and then you have a new game in 6 months to do another playthrough with. Like if you played RimWorld during its early access period, you have this game that with every major expansion is practically a new game. I think it works really well for certain formats of game and really poorly for other formats of game. But
yeah, I think
100%.
very story-based games, I would really dislike having to play through all of the story again to progress a little bit further in the story. That would start draining me very fast.
That was the problem that I had with Kentucky Road Zero, actually. Which is why I've never finished that game.
Yeah, I don't know that game, but like that's, for example, like I 100% agree. Like there are certain types of games where I don't think early access works really well. Like I love their games, but like Divinity Original Sin, Divinity Original Sin 2, like I don't want to replay the early access content, or like by now like Baldur's Gate 3, which is what they're working on now. I don't want to have to go through like the starting stuff for those types of games over and over and over again during early access, just because they've added, and I don't know, let's say a new class or something like that. Like Divinity Original Sin 2, I bought it when it came out in early access, but I did not touch it until that game was finished, because I can't play through that content that often. I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, I had a similar thing with I played, I forget what it was now. Maybe I can come back to it now. But I played through, I think it was Graveyard Keeper when it was early access. And I just played through all of that. And then when it released and then all the other stuff has come out, I go to play it and you've got to play through all the start of it again before you get to the DLC, the stuff. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Out of curiosity, Meow Stations, what was the early access game that you picked up?
I'm trying to remember, but now that he started talking about Graveyard Keeper, I was literally just thinking about it when you mentioned having to start again, because I do remember having to do that as well. And I started again with Graveyard Keeper with like a bunch of new DLCs, and I'm like, yeah, I can't get into it anymore for some reason.
Big shout outs though like to the people who made my time at Porsche, who are making my time at Sandrock, where I literally took a save file in Porsche from all the way from the start of early access, all the way to like 1.0 release, and they were like, there was one bug that I had, but like I could do it, and I didn't have to play the old stuff again, which was so good. And because I if I had to have played through that stuff again, I would have not enjoyed that. But like just letting me continue on my save file, like, but I can just, play all the new stuff and it works and no problem. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good.
And you have the choice to restart if you want to, but you can just continue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it doesn't force you. Whereas for a game like for a city builder or like a run-based game, where every playthrough is different anyways, like it doesn't matter that much. But as soon as there's like a story involved and stuff like repeats, that's where it gets dicey, I think. For me personally, at least.
I just play a lot of games that lend themselves really well to early access, and
Same.
a lot of games as well that have that fit into older genres that have been around for so long at this point that, like, it's pretty fair to say that something like Dungeon Crawl, Stone Soup, or even Ancient Domains of Mystery, games or Ancient Domains of Mystery specifically, has like existed as long as I have. That game originally released in '94. Those games were quite literally the equivalent of early access, even though they were released as a finished thing that you could go download. It's just they got perpetual updates for a decade or two.
Exactly.
So there's a couple of games that fit into that kind of mold that I play now that, yeah, they're early access, but they're early access because they're getting perpetual updates. Like Caves of Cud has been getting updates for a decade now, and it's only been for sale since 2016 on Steam, I think. Actually, I need to look. When did they put that game up for sale originally? 2015 was when they initially put it out on Steam, and it's like that game's been playable and available for since 2011. So I don't know. I think that there's different definitions of early access, and I think that there's a lot of really bad apples that have just kind of spoiled the whole concept for a lot of people. But
Yep.
I think it means different things to different people and different things to different genres. And there's certain genres that it fits really well and certain ones that it fits really poorly.
Yep.
I remember
An example
the game.
that I sorry, if you remember the game, you can go.
I do remember the game. It was No Place Like Home.
Yeah. But that's finished now too. Like that, yeah. They've it's done. It's 1.0 release now.
Yeah.
Well.
But when I installed it, I think it was, or like when I bought it, it was in early access. And I think there was a lot of stuff, including inventory management, which wasn't there. Like there was no real, yeah, that was frustrating. But yeah, early access.
That
I
game
think
has
they did it well.
Yeah, that game has come a long while, and they actually are putting out or they put out a big post-release update, like content update as well, where they added the dungeons.
Yes.
In August, I want to say.
Yeah, a month ago, in
So
fact.
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So,
Still need to finish it, but
speaking of games getting updates and getting new releases and such, do you want to hear about a game that's been updated after 28 years?
yeah, sure.
I wanted to say no
I feel like
as
I'm
a
about
joke.
to.
No, wow.
Never.
You are becoming far too comfortable here. How long is this podcast? And you're already razzing me.
Only an hour and 24 minutes so far.
Yeah.
Of recording
So
time anyway. I haven't edited it yet, so I don't know how long the podcast is.
I first played this game when I was 8 years old. And it's a game that always stuck with me, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES. And they've recently released the Cowabunga collection, which had all of their games from arcade NES, SNES, and a couple of weird other ones as well. They re-released them all in a Steam collection, and oh my god, I basically completely forgot I was streaming the game at one point, and was just so into playing like back at that time. It's absolutely good. I mostly played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES because that was the one that I actually really wanted the collection for, because that was the only one that I'd actually played. But oh my god, they've basically, instead of just being like an emulated version, they've added like a whole bunch of optional improvements. Like if any of you ever played on like the Nintendo Entertainment System, there was a lot of flickering on certain models because of, you know, the way the memory worked. You can straight up choose whether to have that on or off. You know, you can change the scan lines, whether you want it to look like old school or new school or whatever. And they had a strategy guide throughout the entire thing that you could also look at. And oh my god, it's the way old school games should be released. You know, that's the thing.
When talking about these old collections, like there's kind of something that I'm going to be mean to you for a second here, Arch. These Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games are, for a second, yeah, only for 1 second. These Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games are notoriously terrible. They're not very good video games. However, not very good video games are often looked upon with a lot of nostalgia, because these older games are like, I there's a bunch of Star Wars games in my sock drawer that are for the Game Boy that are terrible, that I have a lot of fondness for, because they were games that I had and I got for my birthday or whatever when I was, you know, like a child. And those were games that I remember playing a lot of, that I played in their entirety, even though they weren't very good. And almost all of these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games fall into that kind of category, where they're not necessarily the best games. However, there's a lot of people that have a lot of fondness for them. And
that's
the studio Digital Eclipse, they've done a number of these collections now, and they very much care about presenting these games with care, even if the games that they're presenting aren't very good, which is why I want to say that Digital Eclipse is doing a monumental task when it comes to preserving these games and making them available currently.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing that I would probably highlight when it comes to that is, before the Nintendo Entertainment System, video games at home was an absolutely lawless wasteland. And, you know, the games lend themselves to a certain style. Almost all of the games are a beat 'em up style, you know, because that's what the cartoons were. They would go somewhere, Shredder's committed a crime, they would beat up some of the Foot Clan, they would work out what the thing is, they would go and stop Shredder, they'd beat him up and he'd run away. So it lent itself very well to the beat 'em up stuff, which is probably why I didn't have a lot to do with a lot of the beat 'em ups. The original Nintendo Entertainment System one, though, is actually a platformer, and it's surprisingly good. Like, I did my Retrothon games where I played other games before, and I mean, the Predator game, you're wearing pink, you shoot crabs, and you go under the sea and fire lasers at seahorses, you know?
It's a video game, yep.
Yeah, basically it was a completely different game that, from what I can imagine back in the past, is whoever was producing Predator basically went, hey, we're going to buy this game, slap our IP on it, and sell that. And so, yeah, there are a ton of games like that. And that's what I really like about the one on Nintendo, because it actually is unique. It's not a beat 'em up. It's got some real fun style to it. Like, you know, you've got each of the 4 turtles that you can choose on. They're all their weapons are different, and thus they behave differently. And some areas are easier with one turtle, some are easier with another. And it's actually kind of good. I will agree with you, because I played after that Turtles in Time. And it just felt like, I mean, I played Power Rangers the other week, and it felt exactly the same. You know, yeah, okay, my weapon was different, but I was pretty much mashing the kick or punch button while I did that. And I can understand that. And I can also understand that it being an era of capturing a lot of people where they weren't jaded by poorly done licensed games.
Well, it's because you
right?
didn't know any better as well, right? Like you said that you played this when you were 8.
Well, I still don't know any better. Like, don't get me wrong.
You're an adult now with experiences.
No, but I also
you know that
mean
Stardew
people-
Valley is a good video game, and Cowabunga Edition collection is a collection of not very good video games, but you like the
I
not
also
very
know-
good video games because you have nostalgia for them.
I also know that 8-year-olds currently don't like the Zelda, not the Zelda, the Sonic game coming out. You know, it's not necessarily because I didn't know better, but what constitutes a good game, what makes a good game, and the understanding of what's possible is much more visible. But I think they did well. I think the NES one did really well. It's a game that held up. Like, I've played it off stream as well, and not just for the nostalgia. Like, there is that feeling of, yes, I want to finally beat the game, but it is a fun game in and of itself. The beat 'em up ones, not so much. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting because, I mean, I also played Harvest Moon, and was like, wow, this game is trash. You know, that was the SNES one because it was
the
just
original one. Oh.
Yeah, I was engaged to Eve after like the first 3 days because time stopped at 6 p.m. and you could literally just run up to the mountain, get some grapes, run back to Eve, give her the grapes, and just do that until she was madly in love with you.
Oh, I remember that
on
game.
the second night. Yeah, but it's also aged really, really horribly. Yet the Turtles one hadn't, and that's kind of what I want to call out. You know, it's not necessarily, oh, it's a masterpiece. It's a simple premise done well. As
It's
opposed
a
to a lot of
7
the
out
other
of
ones.
it's a 7 out of 10 game from a long time ago that is packaged and presented and preserved in its original state, and it's still a 7 out of 10 game.
Exactly. Many of them have dropped massively.
Yeah, some of the other games in that collection are like a 2 out of 10.
What I did like though is you can actually get a strategy guide if you press like select or something. There's a strategy guide that labels all the places, and I was blown away. Apparently, you're not at a military base, you're at air base. You actually go to JFK Airport, which doesn't make sense because there's planes that fly over and drop bombs on you. But we always thought we were at the military air base because of that. But no, apparently you're actually at an airport. I'm like, this makes no sense.
Just like, hold on a second. You're playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but your suspension of disbelief is broken by the fact that they're bombing an airport?
Well, it's also the spike traps and the flames at the airport.
Sure,
that
but
concern
like
me.
that the airport is the part that's breaking your immersion, because they definitely have spike traps and flame traps in military airports. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the kind of military airports that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would attack, yes.
What about the kind of normal airports that they would get attacked at in an airport?
Oh, no. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles don't go to normal airports. They'd get caught out by security.
As somebody who like read some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics and like never really paid attention to the IP outside of that because I'm too young for it, really. That's where your suspension of disbelief.
Okay. We had the turtle blimp, which, you know, there were people that had to live in disguise. They wore the trench coats and, you know, hid themselves because they were turtles. But they also had a blimp.
Why didn't they hide in their shells because they're turtles?
Well, that would make it very hard to walk around the streets of New York.
Yeah, and save humanity and
Yeah.
you know, defeat Shredder.
They don't have
But
technology for that?
No. They're
No,
ninjas. They don't have
this is back-
technology.
They're
Yeah,
mutant.
this is back when.
I think they just eat pizza. Isn't that how that works?
But my favorite thing is they were actually created tongue-in-cheek from Daredevil.
Huh.
So
I
in
didn't know that.
Daredevil, it was an accident with nuclear waste that destroyed his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That accident is the same one that created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I did not
Well,
know that.
Yeah, it was created for the same reason.
Huh.
Today I
indeed.
learned.
Yeah.
I mean, all I can say is I have a lot more lore knowledge about Usagi Yojimbo than I do with TMNT, and I do know that those two are also in the same universe. So does that mean that like there's a ninja bunny in Daredevil now? I think you're kind of like retroactively ruining Daredevil for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, who was that ninja bunny from
Well,
TMNT?
I've literally just googled it. Technically, it's a samurai, but
Oh, right. Yes, I remember. I used to have a toy of him.
yeah.
See, I know I watched TMNT way too much as a child.
I didn't
And I
even
played
have TV
all
as
of-
a child.
I played all of the games, yet I remember nothing.
Yeah,
like,
because that's about how much
hardly
substance
anything.
TMNT has.
No, it's also my brain, but yeah, I remember like nothing. So I like lore type stuff is just nope.
I also remember for my brother's birthday, TMNT stuff hadn't yet, like, the shows had gotten here, but the merchandise had not gotten here yet. So for my brother's birthday, Mum actually had a friend in the US buy a whole bunch and send it over. So he was the first kid of his year to have a TMNT themed party, because the party stuff, like all of that, did not exist in Australia yet. It existed in the US, it just hadn't come to Australia yet. So he was like the coolest kid on the block for about 2 months.
Well, I've never been the coolest kid on the block, so I'm going to pause this podcast and say that I think it's time for us to go to news, because otherwise this is going to be a 3-hour show. So I'm going to take us to a real quick break here, and when we come back, we can talk about how an NFT expert wants you to be an NFT and how China is continuing to buy everything.
Hi, I am Sui. I'm not in the current episode that you are watching at the moment, but I would just like to say check out my stream. I play a large variety of games, mostly like indie wholesome games that are super fun. So yeah, if you'd like to check that out, make sure you do so. Anyway, back to the show.
And we're back with the Halcyon Frequency podcast, and we're episode 34. I should have remembered that. Anyway, we're back with episode 34 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast, and we're going to be talking about some things that have happened in the news recently. And like I alluded to earlier, there's this article on PC Gamer by Andy Chalk, and they have this little write-up about how an NFT expert wants you to be a NPC for them in their video game, because I guess they're too lazy to program AI now. Essentially, it's talking about how this person who is so far down the play to earn rabbit hole that they think that it is a positive thing that if you don't have a large enough amount of money to buy into the video games that you want to play, they want you to just go walk back and forth and hold something or be a shopkeeper for them in their world, so that we can have classism in video games, because apparently that's a positive thing. Anybody want to take this from here, or are we all just seeming it with anger?
Honestly,
I think we're all
it's
just angry.
it's just another example of the absolute tone deafness of anyone within that field. You know, honestly, the crypto bro market is always, you know, they're always seeking new highs and just how absolutely disgusting they can be in their disregard of decency. That's about as far as I can put it politely, you know.
That's
the
pretty
idea
polite
that
for an Australian, to be honest.
look, I'm trying hard. I'm actually trying this time. Like, the idea that people within those countries, or, you know, we can take advantage and have the poor people dance for us is like something not out of place from why the French kind of got up and put everyone else on all the nobles on the chopping block.
Yeah. So
It's
this
that level of tone deafness.
This article is citing a story which is written about a Minecraft NFT based server series, because it's hard for me to call these games in and of themselves, because really all they're doing is they're just taking Minecraft assets and locking them onto a blockchain called Critters, in which one of the high rollers on the team refer to this being a wonderful thing, where they had a army of individuals from the Philippines that were operating this casino that he'd built using $10,000 to pay professional, in quotes, Minecraft builders to build for him. So he paid professional Minecraft builders 10 grand to build him a casino in which he was paying people from the Philippines to operate and work in. And if this is someone's ideal end game for video games, then I don't want to work in this industry anymore. That's how I feel about this, because it's just, they're the laughing stock of this industry for a reason, and I really, really hope that they stay this way, because that is not a good outcome for anybody at any level, in my opinion.
It's pure and utter human indecency. Nothing more, nothing less. It is things that, even preschoolers, even kindergartners, if they were ever seen, I remember something, strange analogy, but I think in year 1, my brother had this task of write what you would do if you were, the king for the day. And it was based on this story. And he literally wrote that he would have the poor people dance for him. And it was such an issue that it actually went to the principal, and they had to be like, this is wrong. You cannot do this. And the fact that, someone in year 1 who is like 7 years old got told that, and sort of, they knew to stop that then, to then have someone so utterly clueless and say such a thing and just think it's actually a good thing. It just blows the mind away about how little they care about other people.
What's amusing about this is Roblox already does this.
It's
like literally this is the business model of Roblox.
It's not really, because Roblox basically has the option for you to sell things and then takes a cut. And yeah, it is. And
you can pay people in Robux to, program your game for you. So how is this literally any different? You're paying people in-game currency.
He wasn't talking about paying people just to build his thing. That was the first thing he did.
Sure.
He was talking about paying people to just fill the world and be NPCs.
You can do that in Roblox.
You can do that in any game. You can do it in an MMO. I can go and I can buy fish
the
in
difference
ESO.
is that the difference is the creators of the MMO aren't getting a profit if you just send Steve some currency within the MMO. If you send somebody some Robux within Roblox, the Roblox Corporation takes a portion of that Robux for every Robux transfer. Sure, you could pay them through PayPal or some third-party service, but that's not what people do in Roblox, right?
In Elder Scrolls, it is perfectly legal to buy crowns off other players. I can trade items or currency for the premium currency and get gifted items.
Yes, but
that is exactly the same.
Bethesda making money every single time you make a trade transaction between another player, or does the value of that item stay static once it's in the game world? Because in this,
no, I'm talking premium currency items. I can give someone items and they buy $50 worth of premium currency and gift the item to me.
Sure.
And then I have that and I can
But that item has a static value once you have that item.
Loot boxes that literally cannot be traded.
Also,
they can't be given away.
the studio isn't making money every. Okay, so essentially the reason this bothers me is because it's a studio profiting off of like underpaid people that are doing this as a job. What you're talking about is unique items in an MMO that people are earning and trading, which is kind of a different thing. Not really what I...
The same thing happens with Roblox, though. You know, that doesn't become a currency that you can then take home and...
Yeah, you can.
You know,
you can cash
how?
out Robux for real dollars within the Roblox website.
Okay, so we are again at the same point of, are you arguing that Roblox is just as bad, or you're arguing that
I'm arguing
this
that
is better?
Roblox is just as bad, yes.
Yeah, so again, that's not really an argument because quite simply, they're both disgusting.
Sure.
I've not really paid much attention to Roblox because, again, it's
I
not
guess
something
my
that's...
question is why do these NFT bros get all of the bad press when there's already something that's just as bad that is extremely popular and widely accepted as okay for children?
But this is a whataboutism though, that in the end is, yeah, both are bad and both should be stopped. You know, I'm just as disgusted hearing that you can do it within Roblox, and you know, you won't see me playing it anytime soon.
I think that the difference between these NFT nightmares and Roblox is you need 10 grand to buy into an NFT nightmare. You need money already in this ecosystem to buy into it. And so there's a point where it becomes just, it's these ecosystems feeding off of each other, and then people coming in from the outskirts to populate their worlds, which is what this guy's talking about in this article. But with something like Roblox, it's just what all the kids play.
The thing is, I think why this one in particular blew up so much and Roblox didn't is because this one had this person literally step in front of a big audience and say, hey, I think it's a really good idea to exploit people through our game. Mm-hmm. Yay. That's why people like, because there is no way, shape or form that you can phrase this to make it sound nice or anything like that.
Yeah, everything
right?
about this is gross.
Yes, exactly. And it's like really obvious. That's why it's so widely talked about, I think. Roblox, this type of thing, like, it's the same problem and it's equally as bad. And
but they abstract it in
not...
a way that makes it seem acceptable? Is that what you're saying?
They abstract it in a way that people don't notice, which is why it doesn't blow up. Right? So it's equally as bad. It's just, I think people are not aware. Mostly. Which is why it's not blowing up.
Which is a shame.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But that doesn't, like, there is no shape or form, like, where you can, like, one is not worse than the other. They're both bad and should be stopped. I think that we don't need to argue about whether or not, like, one of them is worse than the other, or this one is okay, so this one should also be okay. It's like, yeah.
Do you have a point, Meow Stations?
Yeah, I was thinking about, for Roblox, there have been various videos being created about the controversy of the game, if you want to call it that, of the platform. And it didn't exactly blow up, but they were still pretty popular. So people are becoming aware at the moment of what's going on the platform, especially, like you said, it impacts like small children who are hiring other small children to like create their games and stuff. I can't remember what the videos were called, but I'm sure if you go on YouTube and like,
you might be referring to the People Make Games.
Yes, that's
series.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did 2, and then they got attacked by Roblox.
Yep.
Speaking of things that I don't like, China is buying more things, and also this is the weirdest headline I've ever seen for an article. because it dances around everything and doesn't actually explain anything, but also I know what it means, which is Ubisoft strengthens its core shareholdings via an expansion of the concert around the group's founders to the benefit of its long-term sustainability and development. Whew, that's a headline. So this article by Global Newswire talks about Tencent acquiring a larger portion of the Gilman Brothers Limited, which is Ubisoft's governance group, essentially buying a bigger portion of Ubisoft. They already owned a chunk of it, but this is them buying into Ubisoft more.
I can answer why the headline's so weird.
Okay.
The website used, and the one we'll be linking in the pod as well. Globe Newswire is just a press release distribution. This article was literally written by lawyers. You know, so yeah, dancing around that doesn't really surprise me, especially in the wake of them knowing how people tend to react to all of that. And yeah, it is just, I mean, I can read that without even understanding it. I already know it's bad news and they don't want people to know it.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it bogs down in numbers and it bogs down in all of that just to basically say that what is it? Tencent acquires a 49.9 economic stake with 5% voting rights in Gloomwood Brothers Limited. And I'm not sure what are they who own.
That's literally the found or the company that manages Ubisoft.
Yeah, so basically they own as much as Ubisoft as they can without actually owning it. You know, they own just under half the board. And yeah, but like the very specifications here of, you know, it remains exclusively controlled by the Gloomwood family. Tencent will not be represented on its board of directors and will not obtain any consent or veto rights over the business. You know, that's just because people tend to get very, very antsy about Chinese censorship in games and movies. You know, I don't think that's something controversial to say. I hope, you know, it's quite a known factor that it does happen. And yeah, it's usually one of the biggest things that come up when people talk about this is, oh yeah, this means that all the games are going to be censored and stuff. And I think they're trying to be very clear of, oh no, this doesn't mean that. But whether or not it actually does or not, we won't know for some time, I imagine.
I mean, they already censor history enough as is, considering there's little fancy leaves over everybody, over all of the statues in, you know, ancient Greece already. It's like, I'm pretty sure those didn't have leaves.
Nope,
there's just massive dicks everywhere generally.
Well, really tiny ones, actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I mean, the statues are massive, but...
Yeah, okay, I'll accept that.
Proportionally, yes, they are rather small.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think we need to worry about censorship too much. I'm more just, I don't play Ubisoft's games really outside of Trackmania. So when it comes to like, I'm not super worried about Trackmania getting censored, but when it comes to Tencent's control over the industry at large, it worries me a little bit.
Well, yeah, and the same thing is with Embracer Group as well, which owns, you know, an
everything
equally,
at this point.
Yeah, like an equally large share. We are sort of hitting almost end game for games in general. They're either an indie studio no one's ever heard of, or they're 3 layers deep into either being Tencent, Microsoft, or Embracer Group.
Point, yeah.
You know?
Yep, absolutely.
Or Sony.
Yeah, Sony's still going strong, aren't they?
Yeah.
The thing is, we won't really feel the fallout of all of this until like 5 years from now, because that's when all the games that are like, you know, concepts now, that's when they will be coming out. and like what type of games will come out, and how many more games will be games as a service and all that sort of stuff. Like, we will see that in 5 years from now. Exactly. Kat. And it's gonna be and it's gonna, like, I don't know, it has me apprehensive as well, because like everything that we have now, like, it doesn't really have like the big influence. Like, the influence wasn't either as big or didn't even exist yet with all the games that we have now. That's like the games that are coming out in the future, right? And I don't know, it's
Yeah, it's sort of like wondering, are we going to wind up with games that are very similar to movies in general nowadays, which is basically the same concept rehashed 100 times.
Not to be like that guy, but isn't that kind of what the AAA space largely is?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, look
at releases out of Ubisoft already. Look at they're not like just carbon copies of Marvel films, because films and games are different mediums, but like the repetition of mechanics, and for every game that is cool, interesting, and different from the rest, you have 5 games where the last generation, it was a lot of following the soldier in front of you so that they can breach the doors so that you can blow up the next room, and now it's a lot of games that feel a lot like Far Cry.
Absolutely.
And look at PUBG. PUBG introduced to a much broader aspect the battle royale, and suddenly every AAA game had a battle royale mode. I think we're always going to see that follow the leader style thing, where AAA games are basically taking what indie games do and then just pushing it further and milking it dry. So, I remember how many voxel games there were after Minecraft got big.
So what you're suggesting is that soon we'll have a bunch of games where we can all be a person, and then you jump into a car, and then you're going over jumps, and then you're flying on a wingsuit.
What's wrong with that?
Fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I could handle that for a bit. That's
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for that in battle royale mode.
Yeah, I think like just to bring it to a close in a way, like all of these acquisitions really kind of have me worried for creativity, because it doesn't really, a lot of this is kind of makes it boil down to, like, we're making games not to make, obviously people make games to make money, yes, but they're also making games to express their sort of creativity and come up with something new and exciting and that sort of stuff. And I feel like this is gonna really severely impact that, because they're gonna be like, well, we're not going to do anything new. We're not going to try anything, we're not, there's not going to be any innovation or creativity, because, hey, we know this formula works, so we're just going to make another one of these and print money. There, as you said, there is already, like, the Ubisoft formula. You've got your tower, you have everything that you need to collect and all of that sort of stuff. Like, that already, like, we're starting to see that now, and it's going to be probably even worse in 5 years from now.
The counterpoint to that I want to just say is, there's always going to be indie games.
Yes.
There's always going to be passion projects. There's always going to be dog dating simulators.
So I should have said this is going to be this exclusively. I am applying that to the AAA space, not the indie space.
Yeah. It's almost like we will have, like, how you've got genres like it's a roguelike, it's a strategy simulation. It'll be like it's an Ubisoft like, it's a Blizzard like, and then just go from there. But Meow, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm part of Embracer basically, but I'm not actually that concerned about creativity. Because like you said, indie studios are always going to be there, and people also move away from AAA. Like, they do take their creativity, like, say, tons of people working at Ubisoft. They then, I don't know, create their own indie studio or something, and then they create a completely different game. I'm personally not concerned, but like, take my opinion with a grain of salt. I'm just like one tiny cog in the Embracer machine.
So I'm looking.
I think
I want to agree with you.
I see this industry working in cycles, and we've seen this cycle happen before. It happened in the early 2000s when EA Games and Activision kind of bought everything. And what worries me isn't the creativity. What worries me is what happened previously in history repeating itself. Big company buy all the little guys make them money for a bit, little guys stop making money for a bit, big guy gets hand in too far, little guy stops making money at all because big guy's just telling them exactly what to do and they can't create like they used to. All the creative ideas heads leave, they get replaced with suits from big company. Small company stops making money entirely. Big company shuts small company down. Big company buy a new small company.
I just want to say,
what worries me.
Rip Westwood Studios.
Rip Bullfrog.
Best
I
of-
mean, now we have the
Yeah.
2 Point Studios, right? Which is Bullfrog largely.
Yeah, and I think there will
Peter
always
Molyneux
be
is
that.
now making NFT games, so that there's that. But
And
like,
it all
I'm
comes
just
full
worried.
circle.
Yeah, I'm just worried about that cycle happening again because the industry is a lot bigger now, and the studios that are getting purchased are a lot bigger. Bullfrog was a small studio and Westwood was a small studio. We think about those studios fondly, but the scale and number of jobs that would vanish if studios go that route again is significantly higher. So that's what concerns me. I'm not as concerned with Embracer purely because of the people at the head of Embracer. Just to me kind of strike, and I've said this before on other episodes of this podcast, they kind of strike me as a person who ended up with a lot of money who's collecting things, who just happens to like something. It's like when you have a rich kid who really likes comics, who goes and buys all the comic books. It kind of seems like you have somebody with a lot of money who really likes video games, so they're buying all the game studios. Tencent worries me in the EA Games buying things to make all of the money and then control it kind of fashion.
Yeah, but you're forgetting that
Yep.
the games industry is still out there. I mean, we mentioned this before, but it's still out there to make money. Like, yeah, we all love games, but at the end of the day, we're still it's still a job. Like, we're still making money out of it. So
Absolutely.
I'm not that concerned about Tencent, to be fair.
Well, what I worry about is what happens when League of Legends stops making money. They milk that community for more, and then they milk that community for more.
No. The borders around League of Legends need to stay. The salt needs to stay in League of Legends. It cannot be released onto the other games.
Well, all right.
I'll start buying skins just to keep that game afloat and keep people playing that and not other games.
We can't let them out. I mean, then they go and they make Valorant, right? Is what they actually do. But
Yeah. But no, look, I see both sides. I understand the fear of once you have, too few companies right at the top, then you've got studios under the same company competing against each other for the same, thing. And so there is potential there, but I also don't think it will be the death of creativity within games. There's always going to be those games. I'm
just remembering of a Tencent technically suing Tencent with Epic suing, or I think it was PUBG suing Epic over Battle Royale stuff.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at my most recently played games. I am going back to the start of this year, and I still haven't found a game that is a AAA game, on Steam, because I don't play AAA games, and I know a lot of people likely don't as well. Elder Scrolls Online counts as a AAA game. That was back in back in April, so that might count.
Minecraft's a AAA game to a degree.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Okay, so it was today then, but apart from Minecraft. No, it's
I'm cheating
I think
with
2020.
that one. I don't know if I'd call
Yeah,
Minecraft a AAA
like-
game, but
Halo Infinite in 2021. You know, that's probably the last actual AAA game that I can see from my list. And yeah, I think that the tightening of the groups might lead to some sort of cannibalizing of stuff, but the cycle repeats and there will always be games to play and stories to tell.
So, speaking of cycles repeating themselves and history repeating itself, Ninja's back again.
Oh God. No.
Before I dig into this one a little bit, I just want to say he put out that like Twitter video where he says, "I'm streaming everywhere." Did anybody else think that he was actually streaming the game everywhere that Build a Rocket Boy's working on?
No.
No.
Nobody else thought that everywhere.game because like that was okay. Well, I mean it was
Sorry.
like the first thing shown at opening night live. I mean, I guess it's their fault for naming that game everywhere. Anyway, so I'm just gonna bookend this story by saying don't use mental health as a reason and way to promote your shift in the platforms that you're streaming on. That's just kind of gross.
Yeah, God.
It's
that
kind of funny.
pisses
right?
me off so much.
It's kind of funny though, because the exact same day he did that meltdown, Pokimane did a YouTube video. And she talked about how she'd taken a break from Twitch and she found herself living life more. She would take a picture of something and put it to Instagram, or she would record a little TikTok video. And she was enjoying that much more. And she wanted to deprioritize streaming because she wanted to be out living life and being out there and just sharing that, as opposed to sitting in a room streaming for X amount of hours. And it was this absolute great, frank discussion where she was, it's been affecting my mental health. And in the, and that she's going to deprioritize Twitch. She's going to work on other platforms and all of this. And that's great. And then you've got Ninja rage baiting and fake quitting and all of this about, it's over, all of this. And then, I'm back and I'm streaming everywhere. And it's just so funny that two of the, basically the biggest female Twitch streamer and the biggest male Twitch streamer both basically deprioritized Twitch to focus on other platforms. One of them did it so well, and the other one did it so bad, and it's just so funny, just looking at that juxtaposition there.
Has anyone?
Yeah, I can appreciate that humor. Sorry, yes.
I was just wondering, has anyone actually seen the rage quit thing? Because I haven't.
I went back and watched it at the time. It wasn't even a rage quit. So it was fake. It was just so fake.
I would like to proudly admit that I called this when he did it, because essentially what it kind of boils down to is, I think calling it rage quitting is maybe being a bit generous. It was just kind of, he got towards the end of his stream, as he normally would, and he just says, I really just, I need a break. And he just kind of Alt F4'd the game, which he doesn't generally do. He closed out the game entirely and then just kind of ended Sunlight. It was I do that on days when I'm not feeling great in a kind of a similar fashion.
He then changed his Twitter.
Yeah, and
then details
shortly after, and then he says I'll be back. I don't know when I'll be back, or where. And then his Twitter account disappeared. He made his account private briefly and changed his account to "this account can't be found" on Twitter. Shortly after, his Twitch partnership disappeared, which I guess he went and canceled his partner agreement so that he could multi-stream. And then just pops back up the next day and just says, "Yo, I'm multi-streaming." But I think the actual cautionary tale here is kind of two parts. The first thing is, do not use mental health as a reason to promote, or a way to promote, your announcement for streaming on multiple platforms. Even other creators that are at a similar tier of streamer were commenting in somewhat concern. to that tweet that he put out where he said, I don't know where I'll be back or when I'll be back or where. I just need a break. So, like,
It wasn't such bad taste because we have had big streamers take their own lives.
Yes.
Right?
Wreckful.
Yes.
Yeah. It
It's just
felt like that to a
makes me
degree.
so
But
angry.
when and then the second thing is, don't take, like, this is just kind of like an echo out to other streamers out here. Don't take Ninja saying he's going to go stream on all platforms as a reason to do that, because
Oh God, no! Take his advice. Oh God,
do
no.
not
God,
do
no.
that, because this is something that I've seen people try this on and off for years, that I'm just going to stream on every platform thing. Unless you are absolutely ginormous, that is the best way to bankrupt yourself overnight and kill your entire audience.
Yeah, if you're so big that you don't need to interact with your chat, then do it. Go ahead.
Even then, you have to be so big that your chat doesn't realize that you're live. It's not even can you interact with your chat? Like, Ninja could record a stream the day before and just run the VOD and people wouldn't notice.
Yeah. And just from another thing, like we did, I'm not sure if this was talked about because I wasn't on the podcast, whether or not the Twitch removing the exclusivity agreement in terms of Instagram Reels and TikTok.
I mean, it was vaguely discussed, but like it really doesn't change anything.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that can work if on certain niches, but I see a lot of people that worry about discoverability in all levels on Twitch, and then they think, oh, if I stream everywhere on YouTube, on Facebook, on all of this, then, well, I'm way more discoverable. But the problem is you're not necessarily able to compound or monetize that. So, it does become
People also need to remember that Ninja got $30 million from Microsoft to stream on Mixer. And that's just a lump sum payment that they ended up paying him outright when the platform shut down. So, like, he can eat the cost of losing his Twitch sub revenue from killing his Twitch partnership. Like,
also something to note is, if you're a smaller streamer than Ninja, moving people to a different support platform, say for example, be it like a Patreon or a Ko-fi or whatever, is extremely difficult. As soon as somebody needs to go to a different website to give you money, 95% of the people won't do it.
Oh, let's talk click-through rates.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, that is really difficult to do, and that's the only option that you have if you multi-stream. They can give you direct tips, or they go to an external site. On certain sites, like on YouTube, you can still be monetized and get members and that sort of stuff. But right on Twitch, if you multi-stream, you cannot make any money directly on Twitch. That's just gone.
Yeah. It's also important to say as well that, I mean, I'm sure everyone here understands and everyone here knows, is Twitch is so much more, for all of the flack it gets, it is so much more geared towards being a monetized community.
Absolutely.
YouTube has the super chat, it has the join ability, but that is so much less common than Twitch. It is so normal for people to subscribe to people on Twitch than it is for people to join Ko-fi, join Patreon, send super chat messages and all of that anywhere else. And that is something important to remember too.
I mean, like, I usually sit at around 300 subscribers on Twitch, and I have a YouTube channel that gets, like 10 times the views every month, and I've got 6 YouTube members.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. It's hard. It's hard to convince. Like, it's easier to get people from YouTube to go to Patreon than to make them use the membership system.
So I think the lesson of this is, doesn't matter what it is in life, don't do what Ninja does.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, his masterclass is a perfectly good, like, actually,
example of that.
If you want to find some funny clips, go look up Ninja's masterclass, because I genuinely believe that, like, he got offered that or like approached them for that and then just like scammed them because of how bad it is. Like he says that you should go to your lurkers and call out every single person as an example.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's
As
so
a lurker,
bad.
I
Say
would
hello to
hate that.
everybody. It's like
It's like the worst.
I don't
worst
even have-
advice ever.
I don't even have names show in follows just so I can allow the lurkers to quietly lurk.
I don't even have a notification. And when I mention that, actually, it's kind of funny. When I state that I don't have a follow notification, I get like half a dozen follows almost instantly because
Yeah,
all the
a lot of
that
people-
don't want it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't actually want to be called out. I see people that will follow and I'll say thank you and they'll never talk in chat. And
Yeah.
you know what? Best relationship I've had with chat.
They don't
you
talk
know,
to me. It's wonderful.
Yeah, no one for me to disappoint.
Speaking of me being disappointed, I'm disappointed in my Minecraft gameplay because somebody built a computer to play Minecraft in Minecraft.
Oh my god.
That's the last article that we have here. The Redstone PC Chungus 2. The original one I think just played videos.
Yeah,
But
it's ridiculous.
Redstone gaming has gotten so advanced that you can play a very, very simple version of Minecraft in Minecraft. And
I feel so inadequate.
this reminds me of when a friend of mine built a working calculator in Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
I've seen that, yeah.
So I have a community server that's a tight-knit little group, and I go into that. And so my biggest awesome automation is I have a chest with a hopper that goes into a smelter, that goes into another hopper, that goes into a chest. So I put ore at the top and I get the bars at the bottom.
Wow.
That's it. And they're doing train stations, automatic farms, all of this. And I'm just wowed by that. And I see this and it's instantly throw my arms up in the air and say, I get fucked. You know? It's so far beyond my talent that I don't even feel like I'm not achieving much in the game.
Yeah.
Because like you look at it, it looks like they built like the world they built, it looks like they actually built a computer out of voxels. And
They did.
Okay, so they did, but I mean, it looks like there's an actual PCB. It looks like there is, the circuitry running because quite simply they had to set up all of these things. Basically, if you have the ability to do assembly code, which is, and, or, zor, zand, I think it's those four, the logic gates. That's it. You can do anything because you can talk to it in assembly code. But just the sheer scale of it is just ridiculous to the point that you're like, all right, if you really want to impress me, go do it in survival hard mode. And then I'll be impressed because, geez, you probably did that in creative. I've mined my own blocks.
You need to strip mine a lot to get enough redstone to make that, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
challenge is set now.
that's Arch is like, you really want to impress me? Do it in survival mode, hardcore survival. Otherwise, I don't care what you're doing.
You probably didn't even have creepers on that map. Could you imagine it with creepers though? You're like running around, you're playing the game, and suddenly
my
it flickers
God.
off, and you're like, creepers blowing up somewhere.
It's like trying to install Linux in the 90s. But I think with that kind of fun one out of the way, this has been a very long episode, and I think it's time for us to kind of wind down a little bit. So I'm going to do this, say it's time for people to shout themselves out. So FG, who are you, and where can people find your work?
Yeah, I'm FG. Hello. FG squared. Basically everywhere. Twitch, YouTube, everywhere on the internet, except on Twitter. I am on Twitter too, but there is a sneaky underscore between the FG and the squared, and I'll be back live again on Monday, 9 a.m. BST.
And I'm going to throw this next to Meow Stations. Like, where can people find you on the internet?
I work in social media, so I am everywhere. At Meow Stations, basically, Twitter, Instagram. I don't stream, but I still have a Twitch account. So.
Well, most people
And
do these
what about a
days.
shout out for your game as well?
Yeah, sure. So we're at the Stuntfest World Tour. You can find it on Twitter at Stuntfest, and then on Facebook and Instagram, Stuntfest Official, and then on TikTok as well, just Stuntfest.
And I think that there's a Steam page people can go wishlist if they want.
Yes, definitely. Go wishlist, and we're also in the Discord. Occasionally we'll have playtests in there. It's just discord.gg/stuntfest.
Awesome. And Arch Play Stuff, who are you and where can people find your work?
Look, I wonder who I am sometimes, but you can find me as at Arch Play Stuff anywhere that good archers are found. So Twitter, Instagram, what's Twitch? Yeah,
The
I'm on
internet,
Twitch
yeah.
as well.
And
Yeah.
I'm blind. You can find me at BlindIRL on most platforms, and I actually am using Twitter again, as I feel like I've been saying for a while now. Although you'll generally just get pictures of my garden because I don't like the way Twitter works, and it scares me. But if you like this podcast, you want to find more episodes of this podcast, you can find that at halcyonfrequency.com. I just want to say a real quick thanks to Peter Pohl and Paul Mile for the lovely intro and outro musics. And if you can't find this podcast in places where organic podcasts are harvested, then please send me a DM and I will make it show up on the platform of your choice. That being said, until next Sunday, this has been Halcyon Frequency. Don't change that dial. Signing off.